David, this seems like it came out of the blue, but do we have any hint that this was coming? Was Volkswagen always kicking the tires on this?
We didn't have much of a hint that it was coming, but Rivian was clearly out there raising money and they needed cash. They've been burning cash. And given the low production numbers that they had, it really didn't seem like they were going to get to cash flow positive anytime soon. So they needed money. There were maybe financial partners out there they could have gone with, but this helps them a lot. And it also helps Volkswagen, by the way, but it helps Rivian because now they have a partner, big auto company that has production, has engineering, has a big parts bin that they can get to for non-EV kind of parts. So maybe they can lower their costs a lot faster than they could have going on their own, selling, building 50,000 vehicles a year. And for Volkswagen,
why is Volkswagen doing this? I thought they had their own EVs.
They do, and they have their Scout unit that's supposed to make electric trucks, but they might get access to Rivian's pickup and SUV platform, which allow Volkswagen to get into those segments pretty quickly if that's what they want to do. We don't really have the details of the industrial logic behind this, but you can see where they could have a lot of joint manufacturing, joint engineering ventures where they can both lower their engineering costs, get vehicles to market faster. And this is something Volkswagen does. They own a lot of other brands besides Volkswagen and Audi. Well, they've got Bentley, they've got Lamborghini, they've got a bunch of other European brands as well. And, Volkswagen's always been the kind that acquires. They had a venture for a while with Ford doing self-driving vehicles. So this is a company that likes to play with others and likes to buy other brands. They're not going to buy Rivian, it doesn't seem like, but $5 billion over time, $1 billion to start. That gives Rivian a pretty good injection of cash to get going and a pretty long lifeline here if the venture takes hold and they get the other $4 billion, I should say.
So I'm looking at Rivian. Of course, it's backed by Amazon, which has a 16% stake in the float. But also Ford Motors has a 1.1% stake in Rivian, which I recognize is not a ton. But does that create any potential conflicts with Volkswagen?
Not really. We'll see what happens with Ford. You remember Tesla in its early days had both Toyota and Daimler and Mercedes in there, and both of them sold their stakes and made pretty good money on it. Not as much as they would have if they held on to them for a very long time, but they were both in there doing some joint engineering, sharing parts with the company. So, I would imagine we'll see what Ford does over time. Maybe they sell on this. Maybe they get more involved because Ford and Volkswagen have had relationships and still do. So, there are a lot of ways this could play out, but in the time being, I think merging up the engineering, the part sharing, all that industrial stuff that's kind of behind the scenes will be a big help for Rivian because you can't get to cash flow positive without lowering your costs and boosting production, and Volkswagen might be able to help them with a lot of that stuff.
I'm curious, though, about the potential of the next phase. It's one thing to get sort of this lifeline of money to keep things afloat here, but, we have to compare it, of course, to Tesla because they are still kind of the dominant player in the EV space, and a lot of the secret sauce there was they kept, or at least they were able to get production costs low. The methods they used to do that, that's questionable. They also built out a charging network that also made it attractive here. Is Rivian and this money that they're going to get from Volkswagen, is that going to give them a shot and maybe building out that infrastructure as well?
It does. I mean, look, at a minimum, it just keeps the company going and allows them to keep developing some of their future models, and they will be able to lower costs. Everybody is going to have to work to build out this charging network because it's not clear, given all the turmoil at Tesla. They do have relationships with other car companies where they're going to share their charging standard, but given all that's happened, a lot of people are kind of wondering what's going to happen next with that.
Right.
And the car companies have their own venture to expand the charging network across the U.S., and that has to happen. All that takes money, and that's what they're going to get.